Greetings and aloha, what's going on? It's Mike from LiveMyAssOff.com. As I'm about 2 smoothies deep and an incredibly caffeinated coffee into hanging out at Joy's back over there at Joy Beach. I admire that. Her name is Joy, and so they have this restaurant and it's on this beach, and so she calls it Joy's Beach. Genius, right? I don't know of any Mike Beach. Maybe I need to find one of those. Anyway, as I was sitting over there, I was thinking and appreciating all of this. And part of what happened is I came to a couple of realizations. So maybe that's what this discussion is on, realizations. And I'm going to throw them out there because I don't really have any sort of order or anything like that in my life in general. No. The first realization I'll talk about is the fact that I'm retired. Or let's back up. I am here on a retirement visa. And I'm also taller than the average Thai person, and so therefore, why in the world would a tree be trimmed such that I could fit underneath it? I'm here on a retirement visa. Now, there's discussion around, okay, there is a very clear list of professions, of actual work, that you cannot do as a foreigner. Even if you have a work permit, you cannot do those things. Okay, great, so there's that. But then there's discussion around, being a digital nomad and living out of a co-working space and working online or doing YouTube videos or whatever, that people will give their opinions on and interpret how much that is real work. Therefore, do you need a B visa and do you need a work permit to do those sorts of things? And there's discussion around that and debate. And so part of the realization was the fact that why in the world am I spending any time of my life over here where I fantasized about living one day, where I now live every single day? Why am I spending any attention units thinking, oh, well, this might be work, or let's have a debate about this, or let's make sure that I put this amount of attention units, time, talent, and treasure towards me getting a B visa, getting a work permit, maybe setting up a company, doing all of these things just in case, or just to make sure that what I do over here is considered not work. Now, I would argue that me walking on the beach, talking into my phone, with the primary purpose being to update my mom on what I'm doing. Secondarily, there are another however many people that care to watch my videos or follow me on YouTube or have subscribed to my channel or participate in the live chat. And I love you guys. I love my mom more. But I really appreciate you guys for all of you do. And as I've said before, you keep me sane. So thank you for doing that. So, but I can debate it all day long and I can give my opinion, but if there is some person of authority that says, no, you're working and you're not allowed to, well, then that's going to possibly take up attention units in the back of my head. And I don't want to allocate attention units to really anything that involves the word work. Because even when I was working, I did my absolute best to live my life as if I was on vacation. I mean, don't forget, I lived in San Diego for 30 years, basically. A couple of those years I went to St. Louis to take a job, but for the most part, I'm a San Diegan guy. That's where I spent my adult life, effectively. And, so I got to wake up every single morning in a city in the United States that the majority of people that work in the United States save up all year just to come to for 2 weeks. And I wake up there every morning, okay? So I was blessed long before and realized it long before I got to come to this version of paradise. I had my own version of paradise, which I worked hard at and went through whatever I went through. Mental, changes and physical work, but also, racking my brain and being happy, being sad, all of the stuff that occurs when you are a human in the United States working and trading your time for money. And then I saved some along the way and invested some and that sort of thing, and spent some incorrectly and all that. So, because of that, I got to thinking, why am I spending time anywhere near work? And part of me was like, well, because I enjoy what I do. If someone else labels it work, well, that's their prerogative. But I'm certainly not trading my time for money. I'm trading my time for emotional payment, happiness. And so I'm like, okay, but the point is that why am I spending any of my time considering doing anything that could possibly be construed as work? Therefore, why am I spending any of my money or time trying to get a B visa and that sort of thing? Okay, so the answer to that was because, well, the first sort of thing was, well, because then it won't be a distraction. So that was the first thing. But pretty much 51% of it, at least, was the fact that if I get this visa as part of this company that I want to be a part of anyway, and, I'm not forcing myself to go to work just to get a B visa. I wouldn't do that, but because of the way this company is structured through the BOI, then what happens is, as an employee on the board of advisors, I would be granted a 2-year B visa, which includes a work permit, and is because of the BOI, I'm allowed to bring over my spouse and effectively my family, underneath this visa. So they have the visa that allows them to get over here, and those visas are allowed in. People with B visas are allowed in, and that was the only kind of visa, really, other than sort of a diplomatic visa and that sort of special permission, that was allowed in for a while. Well, recently, the elite visa is allowed in. And some of you guys may know Todd, the doorman. And Todd has been wildly successful, and also I want to thank him, as I probably have before, but again, for all of the data that he's provided me, but also the videos that he's providing all of us, and his steps along the way, and his experience. Everything indicates to me that getting a elite visa, especially since that it is absolutely allowed into Thailand right now, amidst the fact that you need to quarantine and you need to do all the stuff. But the point is that if you show up, with just let's say for the sake of argument for Gracie, you show up at the border right now with a Philippine passport. I mean, obviously you can't, but let's just say you do, expecting to get a 30-day non-exempt stamp to come over here as a tourist. That is not happening. You show up there with an elite visa and you're in, okay? So, in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, that's the big result. Now, the fact that sitting here at the beach and crawling underneath these very intertwined trees has also prompted me to say, okay, well, that actually works out great because that visa is good for 5 years for Gracie. I have whatever visa I have. Right now I have an OA, which is then extended, so it's effectively an O with this extension. At the end of the day, I have a retirement visa. Just think of it that way. But I also have an APEC business travel card. I'm an APEC member. And so therefore, that allows me to get in and out of the country right now, too. And go through the priority lane. With an elite visa, Gracie would have the same experience, and so therefore both of us could go in and out of Thailand with a degree of ease, sans the quarantine process that just exists, and it will either get better or worse. Presumably it's going to get a little bit better for the traveler, but there's some real cost to it. But again, years ago, the goal was like, oh my God, I want to retire at a place like this. Then I met Gracie, and it was like, oh my God, I want to retire at a place like this with Gracie and live here full time. And so that process began and was wildly successful as of January, or as of November of last year when I physically landed. And then she flew over here and I surprised her at the airport 2 days before I was supposed to be there. And the journey began. And then COVID showed up. Okay, fine. But what's the long-term goal? The long-term goal is to be, well, sober and happy. And one could argue, for me, those are synonymous. But let's just remove the former one, and let's just discuss the latter, which is, being happy. That involves Gracie being in my life. And so therefore, in my mind, that involves getting her over here for a reasonable amount of money in a reasonable amount of time, obviously with safety. And that will allow us to be happy. We won't be happy every single moment of the day just because we're physically together. But I can tell you right now, it will certainly be a catalyst for it. So, and again, that was the goal. If my goal was to get a PhD, then it would be to apply to schools, do the work, come up with a dissertation, basically present it, get it judged, and if I got a checkbox, then I would have potentially this degree that I went for. That is not my goal. My goal is to spend my life with Gracie. So, it's been interesting to sit here, right? And sort of come to that realization that what are the most important things in my life? And I gotta tell you guys, when I'm near one of these ocean things, and I'm on this beach and I hear this sound, and it's pretty much the loudest one around, unless of course I open my mouth, I come to those realizations of what is the most important thing in my life. And maybe not in an order necessarily, but like, okay, let's just say top 5. Not necessarily in the most important order, but my parents, Gracie, as far as relationships goes, my other, sort of friendships that I'm kindling, my acquaintanceships are also very important. Trying to be the best person I could possibly be, given the awareness that I have, being clean and sober, and having my health to be able to promote the fact that I can explore the world. Gracie, 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 Gracie. All of those things are like, yeah, I want to do that, and with Gracie. Oh yeah, I want to do that, yeah, but with Gracie. So I've come to the realization that I am not going to work. I'm going to enjoy myself. If that adds value to your lives, I'm honored. I can't believe that is even a byproduct of me basically making videos for my mom, as well as sort of documenting my journey along the way. I like sharing it with people that I've met along the way, acquaintances that I have, friendships that I'm building. It's great. But it's for my mom. And I am so happy. I mean, I got to this beach and I was happy. And as I mentioned before in another video, I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. And as I sat there, even in that video, moments later, I realized, as I was stating, that I have what I need and what I want. But then I realized, wait a second, I do have what I need. Oxygen, clarity, a couple bucks in my pocket, the ability to be comfortable in my own skin. But I don't have exactly everything I want, because I want Gracie here. And so the realization of that has been awesome. And I've been sitting over there, I almost used the phrase all this time, when it's just like, well, yeah, but it wasn't really a hardship. I mean, the biggest decision was, okay, do I want another thing of coffee from Joy so that I can get a little bit more caffeine, which I do not need, nor want really? Or do I double up on the mango smoothies? And it was the latter, and it was very enjoyable. So, I don't know where you guys go to do that. I don't necessarily go here to the beach to realize like what's important, but it helps me big time. I hope you have a place like this for you as well. For me, the ocean, that sound, the beach, walking along the ocean. Sometimes Actually, hearing chickens in the morning, believe it or not, I actually like that sound. I hate little barking dogs, like yappy dogs, for the most part. I mean, no, not for the most part. 100%, I hate barking yappy dogs. Big dogs, I'm okay with. Chickens in the morning, I don't mind for some reason. I don't mind that noise. But I love this noise. And I love the sound of Gracie's voice. So, anyway, I just thought I'd share a little bit of that. And let you know that realizations for me in the last couple of days have been really fantastic. It's been enlightening. It's been welcomed, for sure. So with that, it is Mike's from LiveMyAssOff.com saying I hope you're living the dream, because if you're not living the dream, there's a high likelihood you may not have a place like this. And up until a couple hours ago, I wasn't at a place like this. So the living the dream part, I mean, that can show up in my life at any time, which means it could probably show up in your life at any time, even when you're least expecting it. So potentially be open-minded to having a better life 10 minutes from now than you have right at this moment, or just being open to it happening anytime. Because when I'm not open to it happening, I'm missing the gifts, and I don't necessarily know when I'm not on the path, but what I've discovered is when I'm on the path and I got my ears open, then I get the gifts, and when I get the gifts, then I want to go back and hang out on the path, and when I get on the path, then I get the gifts, and it's this perpetual motion machine of awesome sauce that I absolutely cannot drink enough of, and the consumption of that awesome sauce never ruins my life. Talk to you guys soon. Ciao.